Doesn't matter if you're rocking a Switch Lite, or Switch 2, we've got a Nintendo Store bargain for you, including games with Switch 2 enhancements both officially and unofficially. We've got deep discounts ending as soon as next week and lasting all the way till next month, so remember to keep your eyes on our handy on-screen end dates included on each entry. Clearly, Shenron has granted our wish, as it was recently announced Dragon Ball FighterZ would receive a fresh wave of DLC in the form of Super Saiyan 4 Goku. And why not? It's arguably the best Dragon Ball game ever, and now you can have all the brutal ballistic action of Akira Toriyama's masterwork for less than $10. A great game for button mashers and aspiring FGC alike. Mark on the Ninja seems like a game in constant rediscovery, and perhaps that's because it's so easy to pick up and play, giving players all the tools and skills of a ninja to effortlessly execute a plan and several guards along the way. It's an indie classic now remastered for modern platforms, and for only $5 you can learn to strike from the shadows. Alright baseball fans, by now you've likely seen the Switch version of MLB The Show 25, which admittedly isn't a perfect port with a lower resolution and inconsistent frame rate. Well, on Switch 2 you can easily land on 60 frames per second with much faster load times. No, it won't improve the resolution, but for $15 you can play the World Series while watching the World Series. Whoa, meta. Remember what I was just saying about improved performance? Well, one game that sorely needed that was the intense turn-based strategy anthology that is XCOM 2 and its DLC. And now on Switch 2 you can see the raw horsepower of Nintendo's new hybrid console, fixing many of the issues this version had, and now it's less than $8, by far the easiest choice an XCOM player has ever had to make. I feel like most hardcore gamers already know this, but just in case, yes, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is a completely different and newer retelling of Star Wars and LEGO. But for only $12 you can relive all three trilogies, which is like a trilogy of trilogies, with plenty of new gameplay mechanics, not to mention all 9 movies, and that same great drop-in co-op. As any seasoned comics fan can tell you, the villains are always way better in the books. And it's that universe LEGO DC supervillains is adopting with the well-populated and classic rogues galleries of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and more, with multiple versions of their own canon. For under $8 you're getting the game and 6 DLC packs for a super serving of super-powered evil. Muhaha. Alright, let's call timeout on Switch 2 enhancements, because to be honest, the third game in the Arkham trilogy, Arkham Knight, still isn't there. Probably never will be. But Arkham Asylum and Arkham City are fantastic, and considering these games still retail for $25 each, $24 is, to put it objectively, a bat-tastic deal. Sure, challenges are entertaining, but you know what else is great about video games? You can unwind and, dare I say, relax with some games like Dofromantique. If you're ready to cool down but your lizard brain is raring to go, have a plop down onto something soft, throw on a comfort show, and build a happy little town for less than $12. Yes, it's still locked to 30 frames per second even on Switch 2, but Borderlands The Handsome Collection is a whole heck of a lot of game for $10. And might I say that the offbeat pre-sequel has a unique oxygen and gravity mechanic every Borderlands fan should try once. Oh, and you're getting Borderlands 2 with 100 hours of extras. There's that too, I guess. Pixels, anime, explosions. It doesn't get much more blunt than Phantom Breaker's Battlegrounds Ultimate. This game is all about mashing your pad and watching things go boom, but yes, there's some rather good technical features you can learn, or not. You can buy the ticket and take the trip for less than $13 and slaughter your way. Okay, so Romance of the Three Kingdoms doesn't have the clout here in the States as it does in Japan, let alone a faithful remake of the 8th entry. But this is one of the longest running and most celebrated strategy franchises of all time, and a retelling of the same stories featured in Koei's other series, Dynasty Warriors, but with much less button mashing required. Tinykin is exactly the kind of games these videos were made for, well-reviewed titles that way too many people overlooked. For under $7 you can play this experimental blend of 2.5D art and design. Imagine Paper Mario meets Pikmin and Wonderful 101. If you're a hardcore Nintendo fan, this is a pastiche of Nintendo mechanics and vibes, now for 75% off. Way before Sonic, there was Wonder Boy, or Monster Boy here in the States, a style of action platform with a texture all to its own. In fact, so many fans held on to this series it eventually produced Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom. For just $10 you're getting one heck of a pretty 2D adventure. That's cheaper than a Master System. Admittedly, I can understand why younger generations would be confused why these older ports of fighting games are still worth exploring. The answer is SNK, who simply layered on more skill, more strategy, and more mechanics than any handheld fighter back then had any right to have. These timeless classics were never a cash grab, but you can grab this collection for little cash. But if you're really looking for modern graphics from SNK, look no further than the Samurai Showdown reboot, and for $12 you're getting the main game and its first season pass. So that's an extra 5 characters, pushing it to 21 unique weapon styles to master, and the price has been cut down by 80%. Probably could have used a sword pun there. One of the most challenging concepts in video games is comedy, but Promise Mascot Agency is among the best examples of this year, with an off-kilter attitude meshing with the fun world of Japanese regional mascots with horror, I guess? Look, the developers went out of their way to make this one weird, and now with a clean 25% off, you can nab this sleeper hit for cheap. Retro City Rampage DX has been around so long, it itself has now become retro. This one is often on sale, but if you've never played it, this is one heck of a chaotic and fun pixel-based open world with oh so many references to 8-bit era games. It's quick-hit fun with flashy graphics for only $3. Last remembered is the sequel to Retro City Rampage, Shakedown Hawaii. This follow-up took several years to produce and features a 16-bit graphic style, and much more than most throwbacks, this truly looks like a 1994 Super Nintendo game. Of course, no home console back then could run this beast, but for only $3 you can explore Hawaii pixel by pixel. Celeste is a game better played than explained, so to avoid any and all spoilers, it's a really well-realized platformer with a touching melancholy-tinged narrative. It puts a lot of faith in your skills as a player and your ability to understand an abstract story. $5 for a few hours that can stay with you for years. Wizardry is, hands down, one of the single most important video games of all time. But actually playing it? Ugh, that required access to decades-old hardware and displays. But this faithful remake has been largely approved by old-school fans. Of course, this sort of academic play isn't for everyone, but for half off you're getting a game and a history lesson about video games themselves. Alright, visual novel fans, I gotta assume you already picked up 2024's Celebrate Soki Hayama Piece of Blue Glass Moon. But for everyone else, this is a translation of a manga onto the visual novel format. We're talking about all story all the time, and it's a good one. All about accidentally obtaining the power to control life and death. It's complicated. Move over, Among Us. Japanese visual novels have an entire subgenre about uncovering who of your allies is actually committing evil. But NeoGeo has the extra advantage of being a well-written and compelling scenario, which is more than we can say for your cousin playing Among Us. Dude, it's obviously you, quit following. Overcooked 2 is some of the very best co-op on this Switch, but this gourmet edition will also unlock all of the DLCs. There's even a Switch 2 version planned for some time in the next few months, which will require a paid upgrade, but current owners will get a giant discount when that launches. Why wait when for $15 you can get cooking today? Moving Out in real life is terrible, but Moving Out on Switch is a darn fun co-op series. You get both games for under $16. We're talking the sort of crazy nonsense that pretty much anyone, gamer or not, can instantly understand. Usually because the other player is yelling at them. No, I said top-wise, genius! Put the kids to bed, it's time to get blasphemous. You're getting 2 brutal, gory Metroidvanias laced with religious guilt and hollowing existentialism. And best of all, they're half off, which is about the only clean cut you'll see near the Blasphemous series. Some of the most unique and personal game direction of recent memory. Just in time for Halloween, it's Crow Country for only $12. Utilizing many of the techniques from the early 3D generation, it recreates the tone and texture of survival horror's roots. Those classics intentionally use the cutting-edge compression tech to produce a strange sense of ennui, and Crow Country is a well-realized homage. Anything above $50 might not seem like a deal, but this is more for Disney fans than video game fans, although shout out to the crossover crowd, it's not a cheap hobby. But Disney Dreamlight Valley's Enchanted Edition includes the main game and both expansions, which usually sell for $30 each. So yeah, Dole Whip fans, this one's a deal. It's been a month since NBA 2K dropped its latest edition, and I think it's generous to call these Switch versions a work in progress. But if you know the criticisms and have been keeping up with the patch updates, these 30% and above discounts might be enough to help you overlook its current limitations. Maybe. Dying Light Definitive Edition isn't anything you need to experience in dock mode, but if you're on the go and want to explore an open-world zombie wasteland with improvised weapons and you've got yourself $10, you've got yourself a whole heck of a lot of game. Sadly, this one hasn't received a Switch 2 update, so it's the same well-reviewed version from 2021. What do you say we close on one of the secret best deals currently around? Ark Ultimate Survivor Edition is $20, but if you haven't heard, they just dropped the free Switch 2 update. It's still far from perfect. We are talking about the unwieldy Ark series after all, which always brings performance changes to each update, or evolution as it were. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. How about letting everyone know what you bought and what you recommend in the comments, or chat back about some more unofficial Switch 2 upgrades. Keep clicking around here at GameRant, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks everybody!